Secondary motion can really dress up your animation, and an example would be like ears flopping, or say a ponytail or a tail on a dog. And what I thought we could do is take a look at a way to automate that, to use a dynamic type solution on bones to automate the little secondary motion. So I got this character here, and I thought we could throw 5, 6 bones and take a look. So I'm going to jump over to the back view, okay, and set up draw child bones, and I'm just going to draw one big bone for the body. I'm going to come over here for this arm, back up to the first bone I drew, and draw one for this arm, back up, and in the side view I'm going to draw bone here, here, and here. I'm going to back up and draw one more right here. Okay, not really the most versatile rig, but it's going to give us enough bones to play with the dynamic settings. So I'm going to turn those on, bones on, come over to the Modify tab, grab the Object, IK Boost tool, and I'm just going to right click and apply IK Booster. If you don't want to right click and apply IK Booster, you can always go and add it in the Add Custom Object right here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is set up a basic little animation. I'm going to grab T for move, and I'm going to take the main object, the character, come over to keyframe 10, set a keyframe, come to 15, watch this award-winning animation in process. He's gonna jump up, and then on frame 20, he's going to come back down. So I'm just gonna use the same keyframe from 0. Look at that, man. That's big time. So I'm going to go ahead and have some secondary motion take place. I thought we could have his head kind of wobble from the motion. So I'm going to go over to the IK Boost tool, and I want the tip of this bone to kind of wobble. We can picture that if it were like a, say, ears on a character, big floppy ears. We could have multiple bones as well, but I don't want it to move around from here. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to fix that bone. And I'm going to go ahead and fix this bone because we're going to do something later with this bone. Okay, so I think I'm pretty much ready to go. All I need to do is select the bone that I want to apply the dynamic effect to, and I can either open up the dope track, but I actually, when working with this function, I actually like using the IKB bar right above the timeline. It gives me numeric feedback and stuff like that. So I'm just going to start on frame. I'm going to right click and drag, and see, as I'm right clicking and dragging, it says 10 to 50. Now I can read 10 to 50 on the timeline, but it's kind of nice getting that display. Okay, I'm going to let up and I get a whole new menu, and I'm going to choose dynamic effect. Okay, let me bring this over here, and I'm going to say, let me add a little bit of spring, lower the resistance a little bit. I'm going to lower the weight and do something like this. Now, if I would have had settings, the settings on the actual IK Boost handle, it would have read here, and we'll see that whenever we apply it to another item. But I'm going to go ahead and click OK. It bakes the keys. I've got a keyframe for every frame, and look, as the character starts going down, the bone starts going down, and then it comes up, and then comes back down. Okay. Now, depending on the spring value and the weight and the resistance, will be what takes place. I also noticed that I'm not really digging the stretching there, so I'm going to go to Object, Properties, set my subdivision order to last. Then I'm going to go over to this bone P for properties, and I'm going to set that bone to head, and then I just have two quick weight maps. It'll allow me to kind of separate this stuff. There we go. So now it's not stretching. The top of the head can just be set for that bone. Okay. Now, if I don't like that setup, I don't like the way it's looking, I can always select this, right-click, drag, dynamic effect, and I can change. I'm going to make it really springy. Do something like this. I can also key in higher values. Okay. And hit OK. So see, now it's even more dynamic. Okay. It's going through, so I'd probably lower that. But let's go ahead and keep that there, and let's take a look at, I was mentioning that you could set settings. So I want to fix the end of both of these bones, but they're right on top of each other. So I'm just going to right-click, Options, Controller Edit, right here. And I'm just going to move that controller out and move that controller out, because I had three little handles all on top of each other, and that wasn't working for me. End Edit. I'm going to fix this one and fix this one so that I'm fixing the base of this bone. And then on this bone, I'm going to go to the dynamic edit, and for weight, I'm going to add to the weight. For spring, I'm going to add to the spring. For resistance, I'm going to lower the resistance, and we'll see what that looks like. Okay, so I'll back up, grab a couple frames, dynamic effects. See, those values are input for me. I don't have to go, and I can still adjust it, but I'm going to click OK. I use some crazy numbers, so we'll see. There we go. Okay, so we get a little bit of a little delay going on our hand there, and then once it rests, it's still got the motion, so it kind of springs. So we'll do the same thing over here. For weight, I'm going to increase that. And then for spring, I'm going to increase that. And for resistance, I'm going to lower that. And then let's see what we get with this one. So, dynamics effect. We've got those values. I can always go in and say, well, no, I want to increase the resistance a little bit. You can see it happening in our display up there as well, but we're affecting it right here. Hit OK. And see, we get a different motion because we've adjusted the settings. Okay, it looks like maybe he's trying to fly. Okay, so that's a quick look at the dynamics effect option in IK Booster. But there's another one that I want to show while we're here, and we've got this set up. That's pretty interesting. It's record motion. So I'm gonna just take a quick little look here. I'm gonna change this. I don't need to be in dynamics for this. And let's just say that between 15 and 30, somewhere in there I want to have a little bit of motion. So I'm going to right click and drag, let up, and instead of choosing dynamics effect, I'm going to choose record motion. Okay, I've got my options. I only want to record the child. I just want to record this end right here. And I'm going to go from 15 to 30. Click OK. The bar becomes red so that it knows what that I'm actually recording. And then I'm just going to start clicking and dragging, and I'm baking my keys for it. So now when I play back, see, now his mouth is open and kind of shakes. Okay, I recorded the motion that I was doing with my mouth, And I can always adjust the settings so that I have finer control, or I can go a bit broader with that. So now I have, with only animating the character jumping up and down, I've got the arms moving, the head moving, and the lower jaw kind of shaking. So you can, of course, use a more complex rig and have all the bones in there. If you had an ear and you wanted it to flop, you could have multiple bones, give each bone different weight and spring and resistance. And then, instead of just clicking the tip and saying child, you would click maybe the root of the hierarchy that you want, like the root of the ear setup. And if you did child, you could have it do the dynamics effect on the entire chain. Okay, so that's just a quick look at using the dynamics effect and the record motion options in IK Booster. It's a great way to do some secondary motion pretty fast, based off of, now record motion isn't based off of the motion of the character, but dynamics effect is. But the record motion I threw in there just because it's another way to get some quick keyframes on there for secondary motion, or you can use it for primary motion if you'd like. But I usually use those two options when I want some secondary motion. So again, you need to have IK Booster applied to the root of your, to the object, and then you can just select the bones that you want to apply dynamics effect. You're not limited to using the IK Boost bar that sits above here. You could do it all within the dope track, but I find it it's nice to work with the IK Boost track. So there you go.